All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about what Jaron Ennis' team had to say in response to Virgil Ortiz and what his former coach had to say. And it is funny, but at the same time, I think important to boxing. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, talking about the future of the division, if not the present, with two of the best young fighters in boxing, Jaron Boots Ennis out of Philadelphia and Virgil Ortiz out of the Dallas, Texas area. And there was some things that was said by trainer Robert GARCIA about Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, and the trainer for Jaron Ennis responded to it. And I think it's really interesting stuff, seeing as these guys look like they're on a collision course, but at the same time, look, man, it's a collision, but I only think one guy is going to get wrecked. And that's what they were talking about. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, support the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Also, if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, I thank you so much for your continued support. This particular one, I want to thank my longtime channel member, Ja Muhammad. We had a little bit of that debate about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, but at the end of the day, man, it's all love, brother. I respect you, and I thank you for coming by, and I thank you for the support for the channel, and everybody else that supports in the super chat and the Cash App, and also the super thanks and videos like this, which you can see in your lower right-hand corner with the heart and the dollar sign. It is the way that you can support the channel and content creators like myself and allow us to do the work that we do. But let's get into this, man. Robert GARCIA was asked about the potential Jaron Ennis fight with Virgil Ortiz, as Virgil Ortiz is getting ready to fight. Hopefully, cross my fingers that this fight happens. I'm hoping it happens between where Virgil Ortiz would fight Emmanuel Stanionis for the WBA regular title at 147 pounds. Virgil Ortiz is a come forward fighter, but he can box at the same time. Really, really good fighter, young dude. I think he's probably, in my opinion, he's a top 5 welterweight. There, of course, there are the other ones being Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, Jaron Ennis, Keith Thurman, and I have Virgil Ortiz in there as well. I would probably have Virgil Ortiz maybe at number 4 ahead of Keith Thurman, but you could change them, really just depending on, whether or not, Keith Thurman, what he looks like in the next fight that he has. But anyway, very, very solid fighter. Also, Virgil is in the top 3, I believe, in every major sanctioning body. He's number 1 I believe he's number 1 in the WBO and number 1 in the WBA. He's, I think, number 2 in the WBC, and he may be number 3 in the IBF. I think the number 2 slot in the IBF is vacant, if my memory serves me correctly. However, when it was announced that the WBA was going to order Stanionis and Virgil Ortiz to take place, Robert GARCIA, who's the former trainer of Virgil Ortiz, was asked, well, what do you think about the fight? And also, what do you think about the fight with Jaron Ennis? Now, the reason why Virgil Ortiz is constantly, put up and talked about along with Virgil Ortiz is because they're both around the same age, right? I think maybe Virgil maybe 24, Jaron's 25 or just turned 25. So somewhere right around the same age. And these guys look like, as long as they both stay in the weight class, that they're going to be on a collision course to be, the best two, to fight for the championship belts, and may wind up being one of the situations where they could actually fight for undisputed if depending on what time, when, how the belts get divided up, and when, Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, and the rest of guys in that generation of fighters, when they either retire or they go to 154. So, Robert GARCIA was like, when he was asked about the fight, he said that he believed that, that Virgil Ortiz had a chance to beat Jaron Ennis. And he said, look, man, because the one thing about Jaron Ennis is the one thing about Virgil Ortiz is that you're going to really have to, you're going to have to KILL him, to end him. He's like, he's not somebody that's going to quit, somebody that's going to go away. And he's like, yeah, he knows that Jaron is a big puncher. He's a fast puncher and he's got all those skills, but that, it's not, there's no quit in Virgil Ortiz. So Virgil Ortiz has an opportunity to win that fight. Now, the response that came from Bozy Ennis to me was hilarious because he looked at it. And if you've never seen Bozy Ennis, and shout out again to YSM Sports Media, you can check out the videos, out of the Philly gym on YSM Sports Media. He said, look, when he was asked about it, he's like, yeah, well, if you leave your son in, if you leave Virgil Ortiz in there long enough, that very well may happen, right? Yeah, okay, he may very well, you may have to do that to get what, if that's okay, if you need to KILL him to make it happen, brother, if you stay in that ring long enough, that very well may happen for you. You know what I mean? Which is funny to me because it's so true. Like somebody like Jaron Ennis is not somebody, or other fighters of that caliber. If they are able to really put that on you, brother, they're not going to stop putting it on you, and Jaron is not somebody that I believe is a front runner type of fighter, right? Where you're going to be able to take a lot of punishment for him in the early rounds. And then he's going to somehow weaken in the second half of the fight. And he's going to fade away and you're going to come on. I would not bet that is the best, that necessarily is the best way to fight somebody like Jaron Ennis, because you may wind up being in a situation like the guy who David Morrell was fighting for the WBA regular championship at 160 pounds. And please forgive me for not remembering his name or being able to pronounce his name, but it's a guy that wound up, the dude wound up getting put in a coma. Right? He's now out of it, and I'm very, very happy that he's out of it, right? However, that was a guy that was, taking a lot of punishment, coming forward, and, but that wound up being where the amount of punishment that he was taking was just really not good for him, right? Now, what do I think is going to take place between the two? I think that these guys it's almost unavoidable. It's almost unavoidable that they will meet at some point. As of what they have right now, you have Jaron Ennis, who's in the WB, who's the IBF mandatory for Errol Spence, and you have Virgil Ortiz, who was in position to be the mandatory for Terrence Crawford, but he made the decision to try to go to get this WBA regular belt for Stanionis, right? So since he's going to be fighting for that, then more than likely he's going to be the WBA champion. And guess who will be his mandatory? His mandatory will probably be Jaron Ennis, because Jaron Ennis is in the top 3 of the WBA. All that would mean is that, Virgil Ortiz would become the WBA regular champion. They hope that means that he would be a mandatory for Errol, but that's not, that's kind of a little fuzzy on that one. But whatever the case is, Jaron would probably be his mandatory there. Now, if Jaron is able to get the Terrence Crawford fight, which I think will come before the fight that Jaron would be able to get for the IBF belt, then Jaron is in a position to get a championship fight. I think these guys will probably match up. The big hurdle into it is whether or not DAZN and Oscar De La Hoya are willing to make the fight, because in my opinion, man, that's a really, really dangerous fight for Virgil Ortiz. But if it happens, man, it will be a great fight, and I do believe that those are the next 2 young guys coming up in that division, along with guys like, I don't want to leave out Speedy Rashidi Ellis or any of some of the guys that may be moving up to 140 to 140, say Gary Antoine Russell, at a certain point. But man, I love the conversation, and I can't wait to talk more about it as it becomes more and more real that the fight can happen. And hopefully it won't turn into any type of situation like what happened with Errol and Terrence. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.